Good morning, everybody. My name is Jos Blykers. I work with IBM, and as you can see, I'm currently in human resources. And I'm dealing specifically with acquisitions of other companies. And despite the fact that the background just a minute ago was all about coins and money, when we talk about acquisitions, it's also a lot about people. Right? So I'm currently in HR. However, I've done different things in the company. I've been with the company for over 30 years. So I've been in sales, in global financing, in different parts of the business. And now I'm using my experience to take over other companies. I also would like to thank the organization so that I have this first delivery for you. I consider that to be an honor. Thank you. IBM, as you know, is a large international company. We provide solutions related to IT and business solutions to a whole set of different businesses, and we have obviously a portfolio of solutions. But even for a large company like IBM, we don't have enough solutions. So sometimes we have to buy solutions. Right? So an acquisition in the context of IBM is always driven, right, by growth, by the need to complement the solutions we have. So we do not buy another company because we want to put a competitor out of business. We do not buy another company because we want to diversify, right? Or because of opportunistic reasons. We only buy other companies because they have a solution that we need in our portfolio. Right? And over the past couple of years, as you can see, we've bought quite some companies. Actually, we buy between 10, 12, sometimes 15 companies a year. Right? Some are very small. You would never read about it. Small like 6 people. Right? Some are really big, like Kenexa, they were 3,000 people. Right? But the reason is always complementing our portfolio. So basically, an acquisition follows a make or buy decision. Even if we are a big company, we cannot make everything ourselves. And even if we can make it, the technology today evolves so rapidly that it would take too long. The market is so fast that we don't have time to develop everything ourselves. So that's why the last couple of years we're trending more towards buying a product and then finishing it rather than developing it from scratch ourselves. Right? And in that acquisition process there is different phases. Right? There's a phase before the actual acquisition, which is the due diligence. I mean, that means that we are looking at the company in detail from an accounting perspective, from a sales perspective, marketing perspective, legal perspective, and also from an HR perspective to see what is the potential business we have here in our hands. Right? And being HR, I'm involved in that process as well. And I have a number of structured interviews that I do with the leaders just to find out how they operate. Right? And based upon those interviews, which is a limited basis because it's only the leaders that are disclosed. Right? Most of the times this exercise is secret for most of the employees. Right? Based upon that, we provide a report which assesses the risk of the integration and the effort. Right? And effort is translated into cost. Right? Once we've bought a company, we start that integration process, and you see a few activities there, a welcome event. Right? So it's quite obvious that we want to welcome employees into our company. But it's not just that obvious, right? Because changing company and changing location is often something emotional. Right? And if something is emotional, you have to deal with that in the right way. So a welcome event is also a kind of a ritual to say goodbye to your old location or the place you used to work and to enter in the new location. with the rest of the IBM colleagues. What I also do at that point in time is to put the two groups of leaders together, the acquired leaders and the leaders of the existing IBM organization, to get them on the same page, like they say, to make real what the acquisition was done for. Right? And then, starting from that moment, we have a 2-year integration period. In that 2-year integration period, there is a formal reporting. Every quarter, we report to the headquarters in the United States. But there is also informal, bottom-up listening to the employees. How are they living that integration in the first instance? So that is also important. And I want to point out this 2-year period. So we do not believe that you do an acquisition just by signing a contract. It doesn't take 1, 2, 3 months. We believe that from a people perspective, this takes at least 2 years. Right? And that's the time we spend on following this integration. Now, to run that integration from a people perspective, I've come to believe that you need to have a model and a method. And the article is important. A model and a method. Right? I don't think it matters too much that it is this model or that method, but I think you need to have one. Pick one and follow it. Right? Our model is influenced by Professor Shine, and basically what he says is that people's behavior is determined, influenced by past successes or past failures. It's very simple. When something works well, when you start a company, you start to do certain things, they work out well, then you continue to do them. Some things fail, well, you stop to do them. When it's kind of basic. But, so that is clear when you start a company, but then you hire new people in the company, and new people in the company grows, and in the end, the employees, they don't know anymore why the company does these things in this way. But it has become the company culture. But at its basis, it is past behaviors that have dictated what works well. And so we try to see from the visible things and from the things people say, what this culture is like. We want to know. We need to know not because we want people to adapt to IBM per se. We want to know because we want them to continue their success. They have been working in an environment that was good for them. They had success. We want them to continue that success, even if the context with IBM has now changed. So the things that work well, they have to keep them. Right? We don't want to destroy the good things. Right? In terms of method, this is our own method. We have crafted this ourselves. I mean, there's 2 main parts in that one. I mean, there's strategic aspects that we follow up. Like you see, it's about organization design. It's about the change leadership. I mean, that means the leadership of the change, right? Not changing the leadership. It's the leadership of the change, right? And the transformation strategy and management. And then, as you see, there's also 3 domains related to people, softer domains, related to skills and knowledge, stakeholder engagement and communications, and the culture transformation. So 2 big parts, strategic aspects and people aspects. I already said that we care about people, and for a 2-year period, we measure how the people do. And we measure that because we want to know what employee engagement is. Now, we define engagement, you will find that in the literature easily, but we define engagement as going the extra mile. It's a psychological state of an employee which makes him or her do more than is strictly required. I mean, to be personally involved in the business. That's employee engagement. And that's a state we like, because that means we have committed employees. Now, we know, and by the way, this model works for IBM, so it may not be universal, right? We just know from the service that we do that it works for us, right? May be different for other companies. We see that employee engagement is determined by the clarity. So people need to know, what are my objectives, what is the direction, things need to be clear, right? And then another very important factor is empowerment. Give people some freedom to do the task that they need to do, right? Support them, right? Enable them, give them the tools they need, right? Give them an opportunity to develop themselves. People need to have perspective, right? Even if the integration into a new company is painful, right? Because everything is different. You have to learn new things. I mean, the network, the computer, the application, the colleagues, everything is different. But in our experience, people can live through that if they have the perspective that things will go better. Huh? Rewards and recognition, clear. Right? Teaming and collaboration, and innovation. Innovation is also important. People want to contribute their own bit to the business. Right? All these things lead to employee engagement, and that is what we like to see. Now, we do these employee surveys not just because we want to hold people's hands, right? Because we like them or we want to comfort them. Right? There's a good reason why we do that. It's because we need to reach the objectives of the acquisition. And specifically, if you work in HR, HR is a soft domain. Right? Everybody knows about HR because everybody knows about people, right? But through these surveys, you actually gather data. You have facts. You can argue based upon something, right? And because you have data, you can analyze which factors lead to engagement more than other factors, which departments thrive, which departments have problems. You can prioritize, and even if you're a good manager and you manage by walking around and you know what is living with the people, having the data from these employee surveys give you actually a mandate to do something about it. So the surveys is not just about, I want to know what the people think. The survey is also about strengthening the HR function in actually doing something about it. Right? So how do we measure success? I often get the question, when is an acquisition successful? It's not a yes or no question. We measure financially. So acquisitions are more or less successful. It's not yes or no, right? We measure in two ways. The acquisition as a standalone business. Does this company continue to produce the results they produced before? Right? And then the second part is there any synergy with the rest of IBM? Is IBM able to sell things into their existing client set? And are we able to sell that new solution to our existing client set? That's one way of measuring it. Right? And secondly, obviously, is also the measurement with regard to people. Are we able to keep them? Right? Or do they run away crying after 3 months? Right? So that's why we have those measurements. And you see, yes, we have predictors, primary and secondary predictors. I don't need to go into the detail, but we measure both financially and from a people perspective. One important aspect is the role of the leader. And I mean both the leaders of the existing IBM organization and the new leaders. And we've come to believe that the leaders are important for 3 main reasons. One is they need to install trust. Trust is important because if people trust the leader, they will also say things when they are not right. Right? And as a leader, you want to know where the business is a little bit shaky, where mistakes are made, right? What is not working well. You want that information coming up. If the people are afraid of you, they will never tell you. Right? So you have to find a way to install that trust, because that ensures you that you get all the information you need to manage the business well. The second reason is that if leaders have a little understanding of what cultural change is about, right? If they have a little understanding of the phases people go through when they go through such a changing company, that helps also. And thirdly, they can also provide help in that adaptation process. One of the things leaders can do is just give time. Right? Time also helps people to adapt. And in my role, I'm working mostly through the leadership, right, to make that integration into our company happen. Right? Because then I have leverage. Right? So I work with the employees through surveys, right, conference calls from time to time, but mostly through the leaders to make that change happen. Thank you.